from my mother's husband.
So I was really angry with God. I've been raped as a kid. You made me born deaf.
I went through drugs, prostitution, and I go to this room with this guy and I can hear people in the bathroom. I was tied up. Every orifice of my body was touched.
Mommy's non-responsive. She's not breathing. She's cold. I said, call 911. I'm coming home.
Okay, in the studio today, we have the beautiful Claudine Escamot. Yay! I'm very thankful that you decided to share your story on the Help Me Heal show with our studio guests and our audience. Before we jump into the story, I want you to tell the world, who is Claudine? Who are you today? Who are you?
Today, I am a mother, an entrepreneur, a follower of Christ, and today I have overcome a lot of my past.
Okay. So this segment today is really dedicated to single women that have went through domestic abuse and violence and just really had to make it through some tough times. So I want to kind of go back and dig into your life just a little bit and dig into your story. I know that at a young age, from overlooking your profile, you did lose your mother. Can you tell me what age that was and what was that experience like?
I lost my mother in 5th grade. I was 10 years old. That was a very trying time and season for me. I remember having to go live with my father, which was very nerve-wracking because he didn't know what to do with a girl. Just like when there was that time it came on, my father he didn't know what to do because I was a girl. So that was very hard for me growing up as a teenager, being without a mother and looking at others with a mother or with a whole complete family. And I was just this kid with no mother and not knowing how to grieve, not knowing how to process what I was going through. So a lot of the things that I did was I used to scribble on my work. I used to get in trouble a lot in school because I used to just scribble all over I'll do my work. And then I'll just scribble all over it. And the teacher was like, why you do that? And I had this thing where I understand now what I was going through then because of therapy, but I would hum from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. And it was just the way that I was trying to grieve the process of just feeling lost, basically.
To a 10-year-old today that may have lost a mother or father, the day that you found out that your mom passed, if you can go back to that day, what would you say to a 10-year-old today that is going through that?
That they didn't abandon you. If they had a choice, they would still be here. And you learn how to live with the pain, but you never forget them. I still vividly remember the last time I spoke to my mom. I still vividly remember leaving out for school. They didn't abandon you. For a lot of years, even through my adult years, I felt like she abandoned me, like she left me to navigate through this world by myself. So I would tell you that the grieving process is not easy. It takes time, but they did not abandon you.
So after your mom passed, and you're 10, now you're going into your preteens and your teenage life. How did that affect you being a young lady going through puberty when it came to like relationships, friendships? Like, where were you at that time?
Lost.
Mhm.
Just a lost kid, a lost child. I gravitated to anybody who would tell me that they love me, anybody that told me that I was pretty, anybody that basically would give me any type of attention, because remember at that time I feel like I was abandoned.
Right.
So anybody that would show me any type of attention, I gravitated to. Anybody that told me, I was a follower basically. I was just trying to be found and be loved and be accepted by anybody and anything. And I think it could have been worse, but it was bad. It was bad. And then growing up as a teenager, not knowing when it come to boys and dating and
Right.
people liking you, what's bad touch, what's okay touch. I became a mother at the age of 14. I was pregnant at the age of 14, listening to other people. Now I know I was taken advantage of and I was
Right.
manipulated by
Right.
a grown man,
Yeah.
but I was pregnant at 14.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, most young ladies in that situation, as you say, they don't really understand that it is being molested. It's molestation. You know, when you're a minor, for someone that's watching right now, and they might be in the same situation where there's someone older and they're younger, and maybe they have feelings for that person, or maybe they're like you know, was at that time was lost. What would you tell this young lady, 14, 15-year older that is being molested by somebody else?
Tell someone. Tell someone. It is not love. I don't care how much they manipulate you because you're in a vulnerable state. They always going to show you that they love you, they care, they're older than you. Um, this is okay. It's not okay. Um, Find someone in your family, or find a counselor, or at school that you can talk to, or a teacher that you can talk to, someone that you can talk to that you feel that you can trust, a best friend mother, a best friend's father, someone that you know have your best interest in at mind. And then I didn't know based on the things that he was telling me, but now I know it was manipulation.
Right.
uh, Basically telling me like, I can take care of you. um, if I even mentioned that I had a situation that required money, they would hand it to me, and then I had to understand. I started putting two and two together, but then I felt that I can't defend myself.
Right.
I can't defend myself against this grown man.
Right. Right.
Who do I tell? How? I couldn't tell anybody. I was 4 months pregnant when I was running track, and I passed. No, I didn't know I was 4 months pregnant. I was running track. I passed out while running track. And that's when the nurse, they ended up taking me to the hospital, and my daddy met me at the hospital, and they was like, did you have intercourse? And I was like, at first I lied and I was like, no,
Mhm.
because I was scared.
Right. Right.
Like, you did. And then I was like, okay. And she was like, she like comforted me like a mother or older person would,
Right.
like talk. And I was like, yeah. And then that's when she was like, um, who it was. And then when I told her I was, how, she said, how old is he? I said, 27. She said, how old are you? I said, 14.
Wow. Wow.
And then that's
Like
when,
your age almost.
yeah. And then that's when she was like, you're 4 months pregnant.
Wow.
I didn't know. I mean, I had all the I mean, I was getting sick here and there, but I was very active. I mean, I
How
don't look
how
like,
how
but
did you feel that as a 14-year-old at that time when you gave birth to your firstborn? I mean, really 14 is a kid. That's a child. How did you feel? And how did you take care of your baby?
I was lost. Um, my father ended up sick. So when that situation happened, I actually dropped out of school. So I ended up, because my father ended up in a nursing home, I ended up in foster care. So
Okay.
while in foster care, I started to show just a little bit, but they knew from Jackson Hospital that I was pregnant. So it was strange living with a whole bunch of kids in one house, living with a lady I don't know.
Mm.
So I was pregnant, but I refused to eat. I was just I was just lost. I was just
Trying
lost.
to hold back my tears right now because I'm looking at a young lady lost her mom, then practically didn't have her father, pregnant, and in a foster home.
Yeah, and I it was like, I think it was weekly visits that my social worker gave me. And I would just stay in the room most of the time. I wouldn't come out to eat breakfast, even though she would make breakfast. And, she would kind of force me to try to eat, but I didn't want to eat. And to be honest with you, I wasn't hungry. I just think my body was going through like a
Right.
type sit fighting to survive type situation. And then I remember the counselor coming, and she took me to Jackson Hospital, and I was like in a cold room, and it was like two other people with her, and they sat down. They gave me some pamphlets, and she was like, "You have like 2 to 3 options." She said, "The state will pay for you to abort the child," and then they explained to me what abortion was, and then they were trying to explain to me that, you know you have a bright future if you do this. You don't have to feel bad about it. The second option they gave me, that I could have the baby.
Hmm.
They would make me very comfortable, and I would just need to sign some papers to give the baby up for adoption. And they tried to explain to me that usually when babies are first born, newborns, they get adopted quicker than a child that's like 2 to 3 or a few months old, and
Right.
that I was not a crack. She wouldn't have been a crack baby because I was not on drugs, so those babies get adopted quicker. And the other option was that I keep the baby, but they also try to drill in me. It's like I wouldn't have no life. So
Right.
all I did was cry. All that.
Right. Who was with you during the day that you had your baby?
um,
Delivery day. What was that like?
who was with me? My aunt. My foster. I basically went on a strike to where I barely ate. And I remember the last time they did an ultrasound on the baby. The baby was like 1 pound. She was Kiki. Kiana was like 1 pound. And so they feel that I wasn't eating enough. And I basically tried to stress to my counselor that I remembered my mom's sister's name. So if they could try to please find my mom's sister. And they did. They found
Okay.
my mom's sister. And that's who I
Okay.
call. Sorry.
Okay.
That-
I know I'm trying to hold it back because I have a ways to go, but anyone that's watching this and that has a daughter that's 14, you know, this you can't even imagine going through something like that. Moving past moving past this, and now you're 14, you have a beautiful baby girl.
yeah.
You're not in school. So what was the next couple of years like?
It was rough. I remember I remember I guess she wanted to surprise me. She got me in the car. She told me to pack my stuff, and I thought they was taking me to the hospital because I wasn't eating.
Mm.
So, um, I remember pulling up to this house, her knocking on the door with my bag, and then I saw my aunt. My aunt opened the door. She opened the door, and she just fell and started crying, and I started crying, and we started hugging, and we sat there on the couch, and they had to explain to my aunt. She explained to me that my aunt made the decision that if she decided to adopt me, that the state would help her with me, She would be my legal guardian, so she couldn't file for assistance and or anything like that for me. And then my aunt understood, um, and then I was already 6 months pregnant when they finally found my aunt, like almost 7 months. I think I was 7 months.
Okay.
And then I remember feeling like my back was hurting really bad. And my aunt was like, "You're in labor." And I was like, "I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is." And then my aunt was like, "The baby's going to come." So she made me comfortable. She rubbed my back. She walked with me around the neighborhood. And I remember going into labor, and she called 911. 911 came, and I felt like garbage. Not only was I in labor and in pain, but the paramedics was talking about me, and I heard it.
Oh my goodness.
They was talking about how I was like fast and stuff like that, not knowing that I can hear everything you're saying,
Right.
but they didn't. This is the thing. People could judge you from the outside, not knowing what you went through.
They know
They
your
didn't know that
story.
you were a victim.
Right.
Yet I was 15 at that time, because I turned 15 in February, and I'm about to have a baby. So as far as they're concerned, I was being fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt bad, and I remember on the ride to on 7th Avenue, on the ride to North Shore, every time the labor hit, they could see it on the monitor in the ambulance. And I would just close my eyes real tight and just squeeze my hands. And even though they were touching me, I didn't want their comfort, because I heard what you said about me.
Right.
But when I got to the hospital, it was a Jamaican nurse. And she was, I mean, she treated me like I was her daughter. She was like, her daughter's 16 and 1 year older than me. And she's going to make me very comfortable. I remember back then they had painkillers called Norcotic.
Right.
And she told me that she was going to give me some Norcotic, and it was going to make me feel sleepy so I don't feel any pain. And she's going to be right there with me. She told me she's going to hold my leg and she's going to help me. And that lady made my day. The hours I was there before, while I was pushing, so worth it. She held my hand. She held my leg. She rubbed my head. She put I remember a wet towel over my head.
Yeah.
Like, she made me feel so comfortable. And I remember pushing. And I remember her telling the doctor, "You're going to have to cut her some more. I mean, you're going to have to cut her." And the doctor didn't have time to cut me. I just pushed, and you can imagine stitches.
My God.
But I remember that I'll never forget her in life. She made me feel comfortable. I remember before I even left, she brought this big baby bag with gifts. I mean, the nurse treated me like her child.
Yeah.
She and she didn't know what happened to me. She just knew that I was a 15-year-old having a baby.
Right.
And I felt so lost. I didn't know what to do with the baby. The baby was crying, and they was telling me I have to breastfeed the baby. And I was like, I don't know how to breastfeed. Do we have to breastfeed babies? I was lost. I didn't know what to do with the baby. I didn't know how to change the diaper. I didn't know how to do anything. North Shore helped me so much. They helped me so much before I left. And I remember my aunt, me getting back home, and my aunt basically sleeping with me on the bed to try to help me how to hold the baby, how to change the baby, how to change her clothes.
Right.
She wouldn't let me bathe her, yet she bathed her, and I would need to watch her.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah. That was a moment in life where, and I'm glad you was able to connect with your aunt, because you needed that. You needed mothering. You needed support. And I'm happy to hear that part, because there are some young people that in this same predicament that don't have that support. For someone that's watching right now all over the world that maybe they didn't have an aunt or a nurse that mothered them, what would you tell them if they're in this same situation right now?
Whoever shows you love, and take it. Whoever's willing to help you, take it. Whoever is willing to take their time to teach you, take it. And you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to learn. It is hard, but you take every day and know that today I'm going to learn something. You have to be able to know that I know it's hard right now, but life, you have to have a willing spirit to know that, okay, today I learned how to change a diaper. Tomorrow I learned how to bathe the baby. Today I learned. Every day that you wake up, now that I know, you learn something new, that is a blessing. That's because you put yourself out there to actually acknowledge this is something new. I'm going to put it into my mind, and I know this is something new that I know. Being a teenage mother wasn't easy. I remember having to carry her in front of me on this little thing, and I remember trying to get on the bus to go to Jesse Trice. It was on 79th and 20th to get WIC, and I was laughed at because I was like a stick and I had a baby. So adults would laugh at me on 77, and I remember when I got on the bus L, and I sat next to this old lady, and she was like, "Baby, you gonna be okay." She's like, "Baby, you gonna be okay." And I sat next to her till I got off the L, and I remember going for the WIC, and I never forget. Everyone who gave me an encouraging word, who rubbed my shoulder, who gave me advice, I never till this day forgot what they said. I may not see them in life ever again, but I've never forgotten what they have told me. Being a teenage mother is tough, and it's not something that is easy, but I made the decision to keep the baby and not give the baby up for adoption and not to abort. At that age, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I had some sort of attachment to this child growing in me. So to anybody who's a teenage mother, I would say there's resources out there, and there's people that love you, and whoever's willing to help you, take the help.
Take the help. Let's talk about domestic violence. Outside of going through something so traumatic, so young, you went from that now to a very dark time of your life. How old were you when you experienced your first attack of being hit as a young woman?
I didn't date again or anything till I was, I think, 22 or 23. So I was in a relationship with my son's father, and I remember at that time he was what they call a street pharmacist. So I remember that he convinced me to move out of my aunt's house, and then I said, okay. And he got me an apartment and stuff like that. And I remember that every time I would talk to my aunt, he would be upset. Every time I would talk to any of my friends, he would get upset. And my aunt, we lived in Little Haiti. So he got an apartment in Hollywood. So now I know that's the first thing an abuser do. They isolate you.
Isolate, yes.
Family and your friends. So any contact that I had with anybody other than him, he was upset. So remember, I got I got up from the couch one time and I was like, I can talk to my aunt. Remind you, this is my aunt. This is my aunt that took me in from foster care while I was pregnant. And I remember him like shoving me. He shoved me and I fell back on the couch. And it's like I froze because I'm like, you claim to love me, but you just shoved me on the couch. But then he apologized. But the next day, I remember I got a job and he would not let me go to work. And he was like, well, you don't need to work. I give you everything, which is true. I was isolated in the house, but I was not even into those type of name brand. But back then the baby fat jeans and all of that was all a rave, $150 each pair or something like that. So I got all the clothes, all the shoes or whatever. So the only time I'll be able to step out the house if I'm stepping out with him. The only time I could talk to anybody was him on the cell phone. Everybody was blocked. I couldn't call anybody. I couldn't talk to anybody. I was basically isolated.
Isolated, yes.
That was the first time. And I remember I called my sister while he was at work and I said, I need to go. I need to come down there. I miss you guys. And I remember my sister saying, my aunt was saying that she can't hear from me. She doesn't know how, like what she did to me. Neither did they know what I was going through. So
Right.
I remember my sister saying that she's going to come pick me up. And when she came and picked me up, we went straight to Broward County Courthouse. She took me and I put a restraining order on him. And I remember he didn't know he had a restraining order on him yet. I remember sitting there for hours before I went before a judge who gave me the restraining order that day. And the judge said I would need to either leave everything behind. Everything that I had in the house, I had to leave behind. I didn't care. It was clothes, shoes, and purses that I can't even wear unless I was with him. And I remember I stayed at my aunt. My aunt made me stay at her friend's house because they knew he was going to come looking for me at her house. And he was calling that cell phone. I remember giving it to my sister. Some way, somehow, I ditched the phone so he couldn't get in contact with me. And just like I thought, he went to my aunt's house looking for me. They said I wasn't there. He thought they were lying, but he couldn't come in the house. But
Right.
for a week or a week and a half, I was with my aunt friends, so they were hiding me. They
Right.
were hiding me.
How bad was the violence? But before you actually just said, I can't do this anymore. How bad was the violence and why did you stay in that so long?
Because I isolated myself from my family and friends. I thought that they would be mad at me and
Mhm.
whatever I told them, they wouldn't believe me anyway.
Mhm.
And even though for some reason I used to be like a fighter, oh my God, I used to fight. And for some reason, once you go to domestic violence, you fight so much,
Right.
you no longer have the strength to fight. And then he played mental games with me, manipulation by telling me your family don't want you. So that contributed to me already feeling abandoned.
Right.
But I didn't know they were blocked. He's the one that blocked them. He's like, they don't call you. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want you. And things like that. And then because I had left my aunt had my daughter, he was like, you're a bad mama anyway.
Mhm.
But he's the one that convinced me to leave my daughter with my aunt.
Wow. Okay.
I just woke up one morning when he went to work, and I felt that if I had any chance of escaping, it would need to be while he's at work. And I called my sister and she made it happen.
When you left your daughter with your aunt, did you feel guilty? Did that affect your relationship as she got older?
Um, it She didn't know about it.
Okay.
She knew about it because we had a conversation when she was older. But
Okay.
I didn't feel bad about it then when I left her because I know she would be in the best hands possible. And she
Felt
called,
that you was in a unsafe environment at that time.
right. I wouldn't want her to have been there. So, and that went on for about 6 months. It was about 6 months I was not in the home. So she don't recall that. But
Okay.
um that happened.
Okay. So the day that you left, was there any desire to go back? Because a lot of times when you're dealing with domestic violence, a lot of ladies, and it's a struggle, and I hear people say it's a tug of war because of the heart. What would you say to someone that is being, hit? They're in and out, they're trying to really free themselves, but they feel, attached or still loyal to a toxic relationship.
I did want to go back. I did want to go back. And the reason why I wanted to go back is because I wasn't working. I wasn't in college then. So I felt like I lived my rent, all bills were paid. I had all the clothes I could think of. I had all the shoes, all the purses I could think of, and I had all the cash I could even imagine. Every night, every night there was money there. So I thought about going back because I was financially stable.
Right.
And then I started working. I remember at a call center, and I started making like, I think it was like $8 an hour. And then it didn't feel like enough. But then I remember he said, he left a voicemail on the phone and says, when he finds me, he's going to cut me up and put me in a bag. And he was going to throw
Mhm.
my body in a river, in a lake or something, a canal, something. But he did say he was going to catch me. He was going to cut me up.
Did you believe
And
him?
every time, oh yeah, I believed him.
Okay.
He has the capability to do it.
Okay. And I'm glad you didn't go back after
No,
that.
I didn't go back, but I didn't heal. I didn't learn because I ended up in another relationship that was worse than the shoving and the pushing. It started with verbal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
You're fat, you're ugly, you have um four kids, nobody's gonna want you. Um and then it started basically, when someone gets your mind, your body would follow. So
Yeah.
I started believing that I was fat. I started believing that I was ugly. I started believing no one would want me. I couldn't go out. Same type of thing. Isolation. Um, when I went to church, is because I had a man there. Um, when if I try to go out with my friends, it's because I'm going to meet a man. So I started just shrinking myself,
Right.
staying at home, not doing nothing. The After the verbal abuse for months, it started with shoving,
Mm-hmm.
pushing. I don't remember what the arguments was about. The arguments was so they were so frequent that I
Mm-hmm.
don't even remember what this argument was about. But I remember I got slapped. I got slapped to where I don't even remember if I lost consciousness or what, but I remember like I was in a daze. I just was
That
this. I
when
was
that happened at that moment, and at this time your self-esteem is impacted, and you really don't have a whole lot of support. um at that moment, did it ever cross your mind that you needed to really get out of this
Yeah, but I
relationship?
didn't leave because I believe that I couldn't do any better. I
Okay.
believe that and no man will want me, and I have four kids now. I believe that I was nothing. I had no self-esteem. I had no willpower because I felt that everything that this man was saying was true, till it got to the point where I was pregnant with his son and I lost consciousness. At 7 months pregnant, he choked. He got on top of me and literally
Mm.
choked me out. My daughter at the time was coming in from school and saw that I was basically unconscious, jumped on him, which he grabbed her, my daughter, by the throat and pushed her to the wall. She was able to run out to a neighbor. A neighbor was able to call 911. By that time, I was like coming into conscious, but all I could think about, all I remember saying is my baby, my baby, my baby. This man did not care that I was pregnant. He was on top of me,
Right.
pressing down on me and choking me till I basically lost consciousness.
The
That
day. Oof.
the moment where I left.
Yeah.
All the
That-
years stayed for everything else. At that moment, I left. That was the day. That was the last day.
Yeah.
That basically when the cops got there and the woman cop was talking to me, she was like, "Baby, you don't want to be one of these women on the news." I remember her telling me that, "Baby, you don't go back. Don't go back." She's like, "I know, yeah, you just go back," but she was telling me, "You don't want to be one of these people on the news."
Right.
I've never went back.
Oh boy. I'm just trying to. Whew. Okay, moving forward from there. We have a few minutes left. I do want you to turn the corner and to pretty much tell the world from that point after you left that relationship, what happened with your life? How did your life start picking up? Because today, you're a MUA. I mean, you're a guru. You're the GOAT. So, how did you go from go from a teenage mother to being battered and abused, unemployed, to now this entrepreneur, this person that have traveled all over the world, that have impacted a whole lot of people's lives? How did you make those steps moving forward?
I basically turned my pain into purpose. I started doing makeup because someone encouraged me. And at first I didn't think I was good. I was doing my own makeup. And then that's when people started wanting to book me. And then I had a friend who had a whole Mary Kay kit. It was like valued at almost $400. And she gifted me the Mary Kay kit, and that I had no excuse but to use the products I could. So I just started doing makeup. I started wanting to learn more into my craft. Then I started taking it serious. Like after 2 years, I trained under one of the Real Housewives makeup artists, Nicki Minaj makeup artist. Wherever I had to fly, doesn't matter how much it costs. If I had to do 10 faces at $25, that's what I was doing. I was getting that plane ticket. I was driving wherever I had to go to learn. And it took counseling. It took God. It took spiritual leaders. It took God putting great friends in my path to encourage me until I started noticing that I'm good. And, even to this day, I don't see myself as other people see me.
Oh, you're awesome.
I don't. I guess that's just the humbleness in me because of my past. I fought. I fight. I have fought to get into where I am mentally. I fight every day to stay and to grow.
Right.
Because you can easily go back.
Yeah.
But I fought to get to where I am, meaning I got up every day and I just knew there was purpose for me. Sometimes you don't feel like it, but there is. Because if God gave me another chance, I was able to open my eyes. I could work on my craft. I can work on my mind. I can work on me. So I had to work on that. I am good enough.
Yeah.
What he told me were not true. I am good enough. I will eventually be in a relationship. What do you mean other men don't want me? It takes working on yourself and finding something that you're passionate about to get up every day and feel that you have a purpose to live and that you can make it through. So to anybody going through anything right now, whether it be a teenage pregnancy, an abusive relationship, verbal abuse, physical abuse, whatever it is, it won't always be like this.
Yes.
It's not easy, but it won't always be like this. You have to one day get up and have the will to know that I can make it. You have to get up one day and know that I want better for me. I want better for my children. I want better for my future. And it's not going to happen overnight, but I promise you, if you get up every day and want better for yourself, you'll eventually get there.
Well, listen, Claudine, I'm full. There's so much more in you that I see, and so many people all over the world is going to be blessed by watching this show today. I see books coming out of you. I mean, you have a story anyone that's watching now is inspired to know that I can hit rock bottom and still make it. Yes, successful business owner. It's just so many great things that's happening for you. Now, I just have an urge in me. Somebody's going to want to contact you to get their face done. How can they follow you, or where can they find you, just to connect with you and what you have established?
Well, they can follow me on IG at GlamRocs, GLAMROCS makeup on IG, and on Facebook, I'm GlamRocs. And I also have a website, which is glamrocs.com. And you can book me there. You can follow me on social media, all my social media handles, and even on YouTube at GlamRocs.
To all of our viewers, listen, we want to support Miss GlamRocs, Claudine. If you're in the Miami, Florida area, please hit her up. Her life, her story is just a testimony and a witness to show anyone that you can start from the bottom and to make it. Claudine, I have to bring you back to this show because the time went so fast, but there's just so much that, so much in you that I believe that can help someone else. I want to thank you for opening up, sharing your lives as real people heal real people through their stories on the Help Me Heal show. So thank you so
much for having me. It would be my pleasure to come back.
Thank you.